The bus dropped Amira at the edge of a town that didn't seem to exist on any map. Dusty air, crooked rooftops, and a silence that didn't belong to daylight. She stepped down, clutching her camera bag, and watched the bus drive away, leaving her in a pale fog of exhaust. A weathered signboard leaned against a pole. Welcome to Seenherper, the town of crafts. But there were no crafts, no movement, no laughter of markets. Only closed doors, peeling paint, and an occasional creak from a loose shutter that made her glance back. She had come here for her university project. Vanishing arts of the subcontinent. One of her professors had mentioned an old mirror shop in Seenherper, famous decades ago for making hand-carved mirrors that could hold memories. It sounded poetic then. Now it sounded strange. Amira's phone had no signal. She followed the main lane, her boots tapping against stones slick with years of neglect. Every few meters she passed a building with its windows sealed by wooden planks, like the town had shut its eyes. And then she saw it, a faded red board with gold lettering. Hisha, chur, mirrors for every soul. The shop's door was half open, rocking slightly as if it breathed. A faint metallic chime rang whenever it moved, not like a bell, but like glass shivering. Amira hesitated, raising her camera. The lens reflected the dim interior, hundreds of mirrors glinting in layers of dust. She clicked once. The flash lit the shop for a heartbeat, and in that single moment, she saw a figure inside. When the flash faded, the figure was gone. She blinked, stepped forward, and called softly, "Hello? Is anyone here?" No answer. Just the slow drip of water somewhere deep inside. The air smelled of old metal and burnt oil. The walls were covered in mirrors, large, small, round, broken, each with a frame carved in strange patterns. Eyes, vines, waves, flames. They faced one another, reflecting endlessly, trapping faint light between them. Amira raised her hand and wiped dust off one mirror. Her own reflection stared back, tired, travel-worn, eyes ringed with sleeplessness. But there was something off. Her reflection smiled. Her real face hadn't moved. She stumbled back, heart racing. The reflection remained still this time, but she was sure for a second it had grinned at her. "Old mirror distortion," she whispered, forcing a laugh. "Maybe it's just light refraction." She turned to leave, but the door she'd entered from was no longer open. It stood shut, and in its reflection she could still see herself standing near the counter. But her reflected self wasn't facing the door. It was facing the mirrors on the opposite wall. Then, as if on cue, something moved behind the counter. A shadow, low and fluid. "Who's there?" Amira called. A dry, cracked voice replied, "You came too late, child. The mirrors don't take visitors anymore." Amira froze. The shadow straightened, revealing an old man, thin as paper, with eyes clouded like frosted glass. He wore a coat layered in dust, and around his neck hung a chain of tiny mirror shards. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I didn't mean to intrude. I'm a photography student." "Photography," he repeated, like tasting an unfamiliar word. "You steal light, then, just like they did." He smiled faintly, his lips trembling. "The makers. The ones who built this place." He gestured around him. Every mirror here was meant to hold a soul, not reflect one. Amira's throat went dry. "You mean memories?" He shook his head. "No, child, souls, you see. People came here not to look at themselves, but to hide from themselves. The mirror only takes what you no longer wish to carry." Her skin prickled. "That's just a story. Everything true begins as a story," he murmured. A mirror near the counter shimmered faintly. Its glass rippled like water, showing a faint image, a young woman's face, eyes swollen with tears, whispering something inaudible. Amira stepped closer, entranced. "Who is she?" The old man didn't answer. He was staring at the mirror too, his eyes glistening as if he recognized her. And the woman in the mirror turned her gaze directly at Amira. The old man shouted, "Don't look into it!" But before she could move, a sharp pain shot through her temples, like a flash of white noise in her brain, and the world went black. When she opened her eyes, the air was colder. The mirrors no longer reflected the same dim shop. Instead, each one showed something else. A child playing with marbles under sunlight, a wedding procession, a funeral pyre, a storm breaking over rooftops. Every mirror was a window into a different memory, but none of them were hers. Amira tried to stand, but the mirrors whispered, a faint hiss of countless voices murmuring names, prayers, apologies. She covered her ears, trembling. From the corner of her eye, she saw the old man watching her, unmoving. "You opened it," he said softly. "Now it sees you too." "Opened what?" She gasped. "The house of mirrors." He stepped closer, his reflection shattering and reforming in every frame. "You took its picture, didn't you?" She nodded weakly. He sighed, almost with pity. That flash, that was the spark. The mirrors remember light, and when you steal it, they steal something back. Amira looked at the mirror again. Her reflection wasn't there anymore. Something else stood in her place, a darker silhouette, head tilted, smiling faintly. And then it raised a hand. Her hand didn't move. The thing inside the mirror did. When Amira finally found her breath again, the old man was kneeling beside her, whispering something under his breath. The mirrors had fallen silent. The air hung heavy, thick with the smell of burnt oil and dust. "What happened?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You looked too deep," the old man replied. "The mirrors remember faces. Once they see you, they never forget." Amira pushed herself up, her body still trembling. "What was that thing inside my reflection?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he picked up a lantern from behind the counter, its glass stained with black smoke. "Follow me," he said. "If you wish to leave here alive, you'll need to understand what you've awakened." She hesitated, but something about his voice, calm, weary, certain, made her obey. They walked through a narrow hallway behind the main room. The mirrors here were different, covered with sheets of cloth, nailed shut as if to keep something inside. The air grew colder the farther they went. Amira could hear faint whispers coming from beneath the covered mirrors. Some were crying, some were laughing, some were calling her name. Amira. She froze. "Did you hear that?" The old man didn't turn. "Don't answer it." "But..." "Don't..." They reached a small door at the end of the hall. The old man unlocked it with a key shaped like a shard of glass. Inside was a small workshop, a table covered with chisels, brushes, broken bits of silvered glass, and old photographs turned yellow with time. Candles burned in corners, their flames bending slightly toward the mirrors as if drawn to them. The old man placed the lantern on the table. "You shouldn't have taken that photograph," he said finally. The flash woke them up. "Who are they?" He looked at her. "The ones trapped here. The souls that paid to forget." Amira frowned. "Souls can't be trapped in mirrors. That's just a superstition?" he interrupted. "Maybe once. But the sheesha guard was built on grief, not glass." He pointed toward an old black and white photograph pinned to the wall. It showed a young woman, pale, graceful, holding a hand mirror close to her face. Her eyes looked alive even in the faded print. "That's her," he said. "The first maker, Zurayan. My grandmother." Amira stepped closer. "She built this place?" "Yes, during the famine, over a century ago. She was an artisan. She could carve mirrors so beautiful they seemed alive. People said when you looked into one, it showed not just your reflection, but what your heart most feared. She used to say, 'Fear makes the glass,' remember?" He sighed, eyes distant. "But then came the night she lost her child. The grief broke her mind. She began to make mirrors that could hold pain, take it away from those who couldn't bear it." Amira's pulse quickened. "You mean she trapped emotions?" He shook his head slowly. "Nope, she trapped the people themselves. Their grief, their guilt, their faces. At first it was just moments, fragments of sorrow, like echoes. But over time the mirrors began to hunger for more." He reached under the table and pulled out a small, hand-sized mirror wrapped in cloth. This was her first creation. The seed mirror. Every other piece in this house was born from it. He uncovered it. The glass inside was black. No reflection, just a darkness that seemed to breathe. Amira felt cold air brush her skin, though the room was still. "Why do you still keep them?" she asked. "Why not destroy everything?" He laughed bitterly. "You think I haven't tried? Every time a mirror breaks, the soul inside it escapes. And they don't return to the world. They return to the house." Amira's eyes widened. "Then what happens to them?" "They become reflections without owners," he said softly. "Hungry shadows. They wait for someone to look long enough so they can take a body again." The words hit her like ice. Her mind flashed back to the first room, the mirror that had smiled at her. "Oh my God," she whispered. "It's trying to take me." The old man nodded slowly. "You've already given it what it needs, your light. When you took that photo, you gave the mirror your image, your likeness. Now it knows your shape." A candle flickered violently. Somewhere behind them, a mirror thudded against the wall as if something inside had moved. Amira grabbed the man's arm. "How do I stop it?" "There's only one way," he said grimly. "You must return what you took. Destroy the photograph. The image you captured, that's your connection. Burn it before midnight, or the mirror will replace you when the day ends." Her throat went dry. "Replace me?" He looked at her, his voice trembling. "You'll still exist, but only in the mirror." They rushed back toward the main room, the air thick with whispers and echoing laughter. The mirrors shimmered as they passed, showing fragments of Amira's face, but each reflection was slightly different. In one, her eyes were hollow. In another, her mouth bled black liquid. In another, she was smiling endlessly, like a doll. She pulled out her camera, scrolling frantically. The photo she had taken earlier was there, the one of the shop interior. But now the image had changed. There was a figure standing right behind her, herself. "I didn't take this," she gasped. "It's begun," the old man said. "The house is claiming you." A low hum began to fill the room, not from any single mirror, but from all of them. The air vibrated with a frequency that made her vision blur. The mirrors on the walls started glowing faintly, one by one, like eyes opening in the dark. The old man grabbed her hand. "The fire! Use the lantern!" She swung the lantern toward the counter, where the photograph hung on the screen. The oil spilled, flames catching the wood. The light flickered violently across the mirrors, each one flinching away from it. For a moment, Amira saw dozens of faces pressed against the glass, screaming silently, clawing to get out. "Keep your eyes down," the old man shouted. "Don't look directly into them." But it was too late. The mirror nearest to her pulsed like a heartbeat, and a hand burst through it, made of black smoke and shards of light. It grabbed her wrist with impossible strength. Amira screamed, trying to pull free, but the hand was dragging her toward the mirror. The old man swung his chain of glass shards at it, chanting something under his breath. The shards glowed blue, the smoke recoiled, and the mirror cracked, the hand dissolved into ash. The room fell still again. Amira collapsed, breathing hard. The old man knelt beside her, exhaustion in his eyes. "You can't stay here," he said. "The mirrors know you now. They'll find you wherever there's reflection, even in water, glass, metal." "Then where do I go?" He looked away. "You find the last one who escaped. The only soul who ever walked out of a mirror alive." Amira's heart pounded. "Who?" He met her gaze. "Zarian, my grandmother. She's still alive." Somewhere inside the reflection, the fire had burned itself out hours ago, leaving the air thick with the scent of smoke and scorched wood. Amira sat on the floor trembling, the old man's words echoing in her skull. "Find Zarian. She's still alive." Somewhere inside the reflection, she wanted to believe he was mad, that this was all an elaborate illusion. Fumes, exhaustion, stress. But when she lifted her eyes to the cracked mirrors, her reflection still wasn't hers. The woman in the glass looked back at her with the same face, the same eyes, but the smile was wrong. Too sharp. Too knowing. Why me? Amira whispered. The old man, the mirror keeper, didn't answer right away. He was tending to the shattered pieces on the floor, gathering them like sacred relics. The house doesn't choose randomly, he said. It finds those who carry broken memories. Amira's breath caught. Broken memories? He nodded slowly. What did you lose, child? She opened her mouth, then stopped. The answer rose unbidden from somewhere deep and painful. My mother, she said finally. I watched her die. I was 10. I couldn't do anything. The old man's expression softened, but his voice stayed heavy. The mirrors smell grief, like wolves smell blood. That's why it called to you. That's why it smiled. Amira hugged herself, shivering. Then maybe Zarian can stop it. If she built them. He shook his head. Zarian didn't just build them. She became them. That night, the storm came. The windows rattled, the mirrors hummed like vibrating glass veins. The flames of the lanterns bent inward, toward the walls as though drawn by unseen breath. Amira sat awake while the mirror keeper whispered prayers in a language older than her country, but sometime after midnight, the humming stopped, replaced by a low, rhythmic tapping. Tap, tap, tap. It came from one of the mirrors that had survived the fire, a tall, ornate one framed in copper vines. The tapping grew louder. Then came a voice, soft, musical, feminine, greater than Amira. Her blood froze. That voice, it was her mother's. She stood slowly, ignoring the keeper's warning cry. Mom? Amira, darling, come closer, the voice whispered. I've missed you for so long. Her knees went weak. She stepped forward, trembling. The reflection in the copper-framed mirror was no longer her own. It was her mother's face, smiling the way she used to before she got sick. Tears welled in Amira's eyes. How is this possible? Come inside, her mother said gently. You'll understand everything. You'll see me again. Behind her, the old man shouted, It's not her! Don't look. But Amira couldn't move. The mirror's surface rippled, glowing faintly gold, warm, familiar. For the first time since she'd arrived in Sherpur, she felt safe. Her fingertips brushed the glass. It wasn't cold, it was soft, liquid, and then the mirror pulled her in. She fell through blackness that felt alive, dense, whispering, endless. The air smelled like smoke and old tears. When she landed, the ground wasn't solid. It was glass, smooth and cold under her palms. She stood slowly. The world around her shimmered like a dream, reflections upon reflections, infinite corridors of mirrors stretching in all directions. Each pane showed something different. A memory, a face, a frozen moment from someone's life. In one, a woman laughed as she braided her daughter's hair. In another, a man sat alone beside a grave. In another, Zarian, the mirror maker herself, stood carving glass with a bloody knife. The sky above wasn't sky at all. It was a ceiling of fractured glass, glowing faintly from an unseen light. A voice echoed behind her. You shouldn't have come here. Amira spun around. Zarian stood there, pale, ageless, her eyes reflecting every mirror at once. Her long hair floated as if underwater, and her skin shimmered faintly with silver cracks. You're Zarian, Amira whispered. Zarian smiled faintly. Yes, and now you're in my house. Amira looked around, terrified and awestruck. What is this place? The reflection, Zarian said softly. Where every sorrow we tried to forget still breathes. The mirrors are doors. You stepped through one. I came to find you, Amira said. The mirror keeper said you could stop this. Stop the mirrors from taking people. Zarian laughed, the sound echoing like shattered glass. Stop them? I am them. Do you not see? Every reflection is a fragment of me. Every trapped soul keeps me alive. Amira stepped back. You're feeding on them. Not feeding, Zarian corrected. Preserving. Humans forget. They destroy. But mirrors remember forever. Her eyes glowed faintly white. Tell me, Amira, do you wish to forget your mother's death? Amira froze. The air thickened. Zarayan raised her hand, and the mirror beside them changed, showing the hospital room where Amira's mother had died. The flicker of monitors. The steady beep fading to silence. The young Amira crying and calling for help that never came. Amira's legs gave out. "Stop it!" she whispered. Zurian knelt beside her. "I can take it away. The guilt. The pain. The nightmares. You'll never remember that day again." Her voice was soft, hypnotic. The reflection shimmered, showing Amira as a child again, happy, unbroken, holding her mother's hand. Amira's heart twisted. She wanted that moment back more than anything. But then she noticed her reflection wasn't breathing, for her eyes were empty. "What happens to me if I forget?" she asked. Zarene's expression turned almost kind. "You'll live here, peacefully, in your reflection. Your sorrow will stay in the world above. That's all." Amira's breath hitched. "That's not peace. That's erasure." Zarene's smile vanished. "You don't understand. This world only survives because of sorrow. Every broken soul adds to its beauty." A crack appeared on the ground beneath them, glowing faintly red. The mirrors began to tremble, whispering her name. Amira stood, her voice shaking. "You built this house from pain, and now you're trapped in it too." Zarene's eyes darkened. "I am not trapped." "You are," Amira said softly. "You can't leave, can you? You need new souls to keep your reflection alive." Zarene's lips curled. "Then I'll take yours instead." She raised her hand, the mirrors around them rippled like water. Dozens of Amira's reflections stepped out, each one twisted, distorted, their faces grinning with empty eyes. Amira backed away, heart pounding. The reflections circled her like predators. She turned and ran, her footsteps echoing like cracks across glass. The mirrored world warped as she moved. Corridors bending, reflections shifting, walls folding over themselves. Zarin's voice followed her, echoing through the maze. Greater than, "You cannot escape what you see, Amira. You are the reflection now." Amira stumbled into a vast hall, its ceiling lost in darkness. In the center stood a single mirror, larger than any she had seen, framed in silver bones. Inside it, she saw herself again, but this reflection was real. Her eyes were terrified. Her camera hung from her neck. It was the mirror to her world. She ran toward it, slamming her palms against the glass. "Help me!" she screamed. From the other side, the old man appeared, his face pale, frantic. He could see her, but behind her, Zarian was coming, her face no longer human, her body cracking like shattering crystal. "Break it," Amira cried. "Break the mirror." The old man shook his head. "If I break it while you're inside, you'll die too. Then I'll die here." She shouted, "Please." Zarene's hand closed around her shoulder, ice cold. "Stay," she whispered. "Forget." Amira turned and screamed, slamming her camera into the mirror's surface. The flash burst, a white explosion of light that filled the hall. For a second, every reflection screamed. Then silence. The world shattered. When Amira opened her eyes again, she was lying outside the sheesha gar. The shop was gone. Only broken glass glittered in the dust where it had once stood. The old man knelt beside her, tears streaking his ash-covered face. "You came back," he whispered. "No one ever comes back." Amira sat up, dizzy. Her camera was cracked, the lens blackened. She lifted it, trying to check the screen. There was one photo saved, a woman standing in a field of glass, smiling softly. Zarayan. And behind her, Amira's mother. For days after she escaped, Amira couldn't sleep. The sheesha gar was gone, burned, buried, erased, but its echoes followed her wherever she went. In the corner of every mirror, every window pane, she saw flickers, like something trying to catch her eye before vanishing again. She told herself it was trauma, that she'd hallucinated it all, Zarian, the mirrors, the world of glass. But deep down, she knew the truth. The mirrors were never just objects. They were doors, and once a door opens, it never fully closes. Amira returned to the city 2 weeks later. Her professors thought she'd just gone missing for a few days. She lied and said her camera was stolen. They didn't question the way she avoided windows, or how she covered the mirror in her dorm room with black cloth. She started to draw again sketches of the sheesha, the old man, Zarin's face. But every drawing turned out wrong. Each sketch of Zarin's eyes seemed to look through the paper, watching her. One night, unable to sleep, Amira turned on her phone and opened the gallery. That single photo, the one that shouldn't exist, was still there. Zarin, standing in a field of glass. Her mother behind her, smiling softly. Amira's throat tightened. She whispered, "Mom?" The photo flickered. For a split second, her mother's lips moved. "Come back." The next day, Amira packed her bag and returned to Secapur. But when she arrived, there was no town, no signboard, only dust and wind blowing across a plain where the road should have been. The entire place had vanished. She stood there, heart hammering, until she noticed something glinting half buried in the dirt, a shard of mirror. No larger than her palm. Its edge was scorched, but its surface was smooth, clean. When she picked it up, the world around her dimmed. The sound of wind faded, and faintly, deep inside the glass, she saw her reflection, smiling faintly. Her reflection whispered, "Welcome home." The next thing she remembered was waking up in her apartment. Her hands were bleeding, tiny cuts along her palms. The shard was on her table, gleaming softly in the dim light. Her camera sat beside it. She hadn't touched it since the night of the fire, but now it was turned on. The screen glowed. New photos, dozens of them. Each one was of her sleeping, eating, walking down streets, sitting by her window, every moment from the past week, all taken from inside her mirrors. Amira's chest went cold. She stood slowly, looking toward the covered mirror across the room. It trembled slightly, as if breathing. "Stop," she whispered. "Please, stop." The trembling ceased. Then, from behind the black cloth came a quiet tap. Tap, tap, tap. Just like before, Amira's tears stung her eyes. "Leave me alone," she screamed, tearing the cloth away. The mirror was blank, no reflection at all. Just emptiness. But then faintly, words began to appear across its surface, written in fog. "You never left." A sudden knock at the door made her jump. She froze, her heart racing. The knock came again, slow, deliberate. When she looked through the peephole, no one was there. But on the floor outside lay an envelope. Inside it was a small square of black and white film, undeveloped, and a note written in trembling handwriting. "You broke the mirror, not the bond. The other Amira still waits." The mirror keeper. Amira stared at the words, her mind spinning. The old man was still alive? Or was he writing from the other side? She held the film up to the light but couldn't see anything on it, just shadows. Without thinking, she loaded it into her camera and began the development process. The chemicals stung her nose. She waited. The image began to emerge. Faint, blurred. A woman standing in a hall of mirrors. Her back turned, her hair tied exactly like Amira's. And behind her, a shape. Zarin. Amira stumbled back. The photo surface rippled. Her reflection in the darkroom sink shimmered and smiled. That night, Amira dreamt of glass, 1,000 mirrors stretching endlessly in every direction, whispering her name. In the dream, she saw herself, but thinner, paler, smiling like Zarin once did. Her reflection reached out, pressing a hand to the glass. "Let's switch," it whispered. "You rest. I'll live." Amira awoke with a scream. The room was cold. Her breath fogged the air. On the wall above her bed, carved into the paint, were words written backward, as if from the other side of glass. "You left me there." The next morning, she smashed every mirror in her apartment. Even the blackened TV screen. Even the small metal kettle. But reflections still appeared in puddles, in windows, in her phone screen. No matter how many she destroyed, she always saw the same thing. Her reflection standing still when she moved, smiling when she cried. One evening, Amira went to the old river near her university, a place where the water was still enough to act like a mirror. The sky was red with sunset. She stood at the edge, clutching the shard of glass she'd brought from Saherper. "I know you can hear me," she whispered. "If I have to end this, I'll do it myself." The river's surface rippled. Her reflection looked up, but it wasn't her face anymore. It was Zareen's. "You can't destroy what you are," Zareen said softly from the water. "Every reflection remembers. You're part of the house now, whether you accept it or not." Amira's tears mixed with the river. "Then take it back. Take all of it." Zareen's smile was almost kind. "It already has." The shard in Amira's hand began to glow. The water shimmered, turning to glass. Her reflection stood on the surface, perfectly still. Then the reflection opened its eyes, and Amira's body went rigid. The shard slipped from her hand, falling into the glassy water without a sound. When the ripples faded, only one Amira remained standing inside the reflection, staring out at the empty world beyond. A week later, the janitor at Amira's apartment reported a strange smell. When police entered, the room was empty. The walls were lined with photographs, thousands of them, all of the same girl, staring from behind glass. No one ever found Amira, but sometimes, late at night, tenants who move into that building say they see her face in the bathroom mirror. Not moving, just smiling. And if they stare too long, they forget who they were. In a quiet antique store on the edge of another forgotten town, a sign swings gently in the wind. Its gold letters read, "Hisha, Chur, mirrors for every soul." Inside, an old mirror leans against the wall. Its surface ripples faintly, and from deep within, a voice whispers, half plea, half promise. "Fear makes the glass remember the end."